Hey folks, in today's video we're going to be looking at Tinto Talks 28. This is for the super top secret Project Caesar aka EU5, and yes, for those eagle-eyed of you, you will see that this was actually last week's dev diary, but I was on vacation then, and as Johan will say at the end of this dev diary, there isn't going to be a dev diary this week, so I thought I would just move this into the usual Wednesday slot so that it is covered on the channel, because there's some very interesting information here. It is a very quick dev diary, I will say that, but there's some cool mechanics coming our way, and in this dev diary he's going to be talking about the climate and what winter especially can do for your campaign. So the first bit here, climate and winter. So what impacts whether a location has winter or not? Well, it primarily depends on the climate, but also the time of the year and the level of winter currently nearby. Of course, when there is winter, it is different in the northern and southern hemispheres. Each day, each location does its calculations for when it should be changing its winter level. So yes, if you're in the northern hemisphere, it is soon in real life coming up to winter. And if you're in the southern hemisphere, you're coming out of winter pretty much at this point. It is the opposite of whichever one you're in at the moment. There are 3 levels of winter. Technically, there is 4, but no winter is not really winter, is it? That is a good point. And during the course of a season, a location can experience all types of winter. We will have mild, normal and severe winters. What is common is for all levels of winter is that they will affect the attrition of your armies, so winters will always kill off some of your soldiers. Someone should have told Napoleon this. Population living in climates that regularly experience winters will have a higher demand for furs. That's getting into the trade and economy side of the game. And that's the basics of winter. I think we all know how winter works. But food in winter. So food production is severely reduced when winter comes, while populations will eat normally. A mild winter is a reduction of about 25%, while severe winters basically reduce food production to 0. So unless there's a lot of food stored in a province, a severe winter may cause starvation in your locations. I guess you can additionally trade in food to make up for that though. And of course, on top of it affecting your food production, it will also affect your building construction as well. So the other drawback is that normal and severe winters will impact construction, and with impact, they're talking about stalling them completely. This affects everything from constructing a building to building a ship, and it makes the gameplay experience in countries like Sweden and Norway a little bit more difficult. So they have to plan around the fact that you will have 7 months of a year where you can't build anything. I imagine, Scotland, obviously like Siberia, all these other very cold areas of the world, you're going to have to factor in that in the winter, you're not going to be building ships, you're not going to be building buildings, and it is going to be something you have to plan around for your campaigns. This is really cool. Obviously, they had winter and things like this in previous games, but it only really affected the attrition of your armies from what I can remember. I don't think it ever affected building speed and things like that. I really like this. Again, it's just another kind of feature coming to EU5, which is going to make it an even more interesting game to play. And you can see that in the screenshot here. So this is the construction of a mason, and it is currently stalled because they are in the winter months and they can't build this. So it will stop for now. I guess they will stockpile the stuff to build it, and then when spring comes around, they will get back into it. On top of food and buildings, as I alluded to earlier, the weather can affect your armies and your navies. So this is freezing seas. Narrows, inland seas, and lakes have the possibility of freezing over during winter. This can happen when a sea zone has a severe winter for over a week, and then it will last until the winter is no longer severe in that location. And then coming next is a very interesting part. A frozen sea zone can be traversed by armies and will allow greater military control over the lands it reaches. However, it can cause navies to get stuck there until it thaws. And Johan does say in one of the replies that that means you can actually capture these navies with your armies. So, well, I say navies, you can capture the ships basically with your armies. You can march your armies onto the frozen lake, get those ships, keep them for yourselves, and then when the lake or sea defrosts, you actually just take those ships back to your port and you can steal them. Not going to be happening all the time. For the most part, I imagine you're going to get your ships out of there pretty quickly when they start freezing over, but there are a few historical examples of this happening, and it is, again, this little cool thing that you're going to be able to do in EU5. You're going to be able to capture ships that are frozen in place. That is really cool. I'm sure somebody's going to have some crazy posts on the subreddit when this game comes out saying they captured a whole armada or something like that somehow got frozen in a lake. Maybe if the AI isn't that smart, you might be able to trick them into staying in there. I don't know. We'll see obviously when the game comes out, but I did want to call that out because that is a cool mechanic that is coming. But of course, whilst you're crossing these lakes, maybe these inland seas, you do have to be careful because if they do thaw, obviously if your army is on there, they're dead. They'll just fall into the sea and die. You don't want that happening. Navies can also not enter any sea zone that is frozen over. That obviously just makes sense. They can't in this time frame go into a frozen sea and, you know, start conquering people or something like that. And you can see here this sea zone tooltip. It is currently frozen over. The winter level is severe winter. It is an inland sea. It is in Scandinavia and the climate is Arctic. So you do know in the winter months, you probably want to steer clear of this place as much as you can. But again, with your armies, you can take advantage of this and maybe do some surprise wars or something like that. Pretty cool, I think. Do let me know what you think in the comments down below. And then outside of like the winter climate, we also have mountains. These obviously will see more wintry climates more times of the year. And as we already know that warfare will be more risky during the winter, Project Caesar adds another element to it. Any location that has a topography of mountain will be blocked for army movement during normal and severe winters. This can help give you natural borders and some interesting strategic gameplay. So again, some additional, as they say here, strategic gameplay. When you're doing wars, you can think like, okay, this winter passage here, that's going to be closed in the winter. So I know they can't come through there. Maybe I'll take my armies around the mountains, something like that. Or even if you're attacking, you've got to think ahead and think, well, I really want to get out there in the spring and summer so I can travel my armies around as much as possible, because I know once it gets into the winter, there's a good chance these are going to get frozen up. Again, there's going to be some cool mechanics, maybe like retreating armies, getting stuck in certain locations with frozen passages, all that kind of stuff. So again, this is some really cool mechanics coming. And you can see that in the screenshot here. So winter level, telling you how these mountains and weather will work during the times that you are going to be impacted by it. And with that, guys, that is the Tinto Talks for this week. Like I said, a very quick one, just giving us a general overview of how winter will work and how it will affect different areas of the game. I'm sure you can think of some scenarios where this is going to be interesting, especially like Northern America. We're going to get that Hudson Bay Company area. Yes, I got a reference to that in 2 videos in a row on EU5. You're going to have to think, I could try go and colonize this area, but during the winter, it's going to be a very bad time. You want to get your colonies there kind of during the early months and things like that. So let me know what you think in the comments down below about this. A very quick one, as Johan says, no dev diary kind of this week when this video goes out, but next week they're going to get back to talking about a bunch of things. He does say we're going to be talking about roads, development, prosperity, a bunch of things once they get back from their holiday. So with that, we'll leave it there for today. As always, hit that like button if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe if you are new here. I'm covering all the dev diaries until official announcement of EU5 launch and beyond, and a bunch of other content once that happens as well. But yeah, we'll leave it there, and I'll see you in the next one.